Hi, everybody, and welcome to Stimming and Stilettos with Dr. Tasha. And of course, we are back with another great guest, another woman of color, a minority woman in STEM, who is going to tell us her story. I'm excited about this for a couple of reasons. One is that again, I get to hear your story and help get it out into the world. But two, um, as my audience will tell you, I kind of low key stalk my guests. so, so I kind of looked you up. So I'm interested in hearing from your perspective, your own story. Because of course I know what I've read, but of course
Mhm.
it's from an outsider's point of view. So it's
Yeah.
always interesting and I'm totally fascinated by um kind of learning people's, like you see that they're, chief diversity officer, chief people officer, engineer of this, and so, you know, it's almost like the view of you is different when you're the you. So, um, so Liz, tell us your story and don't leave anything out. No, just kidding. Uh, no, but please do introduce yourself to the guest and then tell us your STEM story.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me and for giving me the opportunity to share my story and just um, make if I can have someone listen to this and can relate to that and just I can help someone, that's a win, right? We all have a story.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you creating this space too.
Oh, thank you. I try. It's a labor of love for me. Um it's also been eye-opening for me because I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. And when I was a practicing engineer,
Mhm.
it took me 6 years into a 10-year career before I met another minority Black woman. Um, and I was like, oh my God, we do exist. I am not, it was such a profound experience for me. And we're still friends to this day. And I tell her all the time that she literally changed my life and prolonged my career because I got to know her she was the person I could ask questions to. It was life changing. So I'm like, we need more opportunities to do this. I,
Yes.
I want to be her Jeannie Carney is her name. So I want to be Jeannie Carney for somebody else. So I've
Yes.
created a platform where we all get to be that. So yeah.
Love that. Well, so my name is Lee Chaluisant, and let's see, let's start. Born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Um, uh, what brought me to the United States was a job offer right after college from
Wow.
the Navy. So I have been with the Department of the Navy for almost 15 years now.
Wow.
I'm a chemical engineer by trade. Um, what made me kind of select that path, I was in a math and science school. It was like a real STEM and math science that has been love it, and when I tried to figure out what career path will make sense, that's when I really kind of found chemical engineering. Plus, the money wasn't bad either, right?
Right.
So I started as an in-service engineer, getting my hands dirty, mechanical. I was really a rocket science. And part of my journey, and people get amazed on this. So, born and raised in Puerto Rico, it was a culture shock for me, right? I moved, I still have my broken English. And I remember my first week on the job, I was in a hallway with some coworkers, and this older man came straight to me, pointing his finger at me, and he was like, "Hey, young lady, you will never be successful because he said, you're a woman, you are Latina, and you have an accent."
Mm.
And I still remember that like it was yesterday. And I remember just being frozen, like I didn't know what to do. I either have two options. I either cry or just accept and say like, hey, Liz, like, welcome to your new journey.
Wow. Wow.
So to me, that had, I always go back to that moment, to every move and how I progress in my career is like, yes, I can be successful, right? But success, that means it means different things to multiple people,
Right.
right?
Right.
So throughout my career, like you just mentioned, like I call myself the only lonely, because I'm
Mm,
the only women, the only woman of color, and the one that look different. And that
yeah.
was the reality. So then I knew I didn't want to stay like very technical throughout my career, and I took advantage of leadership opportunities,
Mm,
leadership programs, and that kind of moved me through multiple organizations. And I've done project management, program management. Um, I have been working with executive directors. My last few positions have been pretty much been the right hand of a senior executive, which has been very grateful for it and very
right.
eye-opening, right? Because they have allowed me to be a voice, right? And be some type of advisor, and say, oh, my opinion matters, right?
Yeah.
So, and at the same time, while I do this, I mentor younger women, and I've always been a believer of we need to pay it forward, right?
Ooh, love that.
And
Love
I
that.
always, and not only I'm doing it, but to my mentees, I encourage them to do that as well. Um, and overall, I will say, so right now, let me, career wise, right, my current role right now, I'm the chief of staff at the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Program Office within the Department of the Navy. It's been an honor to be there. And when people, I kind of realize, you're an engineer, like, what, why are you doing this, right?
Right.
I would say I've been grateful, right, for the department itself have allowed me to kind of have a unique career path, really.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think very,
So it's so funny because I think people, maybe, and it maybe folks within our industry thinks like, if you're an engineer, there's only, you have the set skill point, but I don't think people really understand that being an engineer says that like you have the ability to go so many different places because of like the setup of it, right? You learn how to think, you learn
yes,
how to learn, you learn
yes,
how to apply, you learn
yes,
how to shift
yes,
and pivot, you
yes,
know,
yes.
all of those things are kind of built into an engineering path, if you will. So we know how to turn.
Absolutely. And every position that I've had throughout my career, technical, not technical, it's like as engineers, we're trained to solve problems,
Yes.
right? And we are trainable.
Yep.
So to me, that's the value that engineering, a STEM career have allowed me to have helped me to be successful,
Yeah.
in
I
life.
love that story so much. I love what you just said because I think it kind of helps to humanize engineers in a sense. Well, actually, us sort of showing up here talking about this helps to humanize it. But I think people have this idea that like engineers are like these robotic folks that we just work all the time. We just do, it's like, no, we know how to problem solve. We know how to take a situation, look at it, assess, and then make a decision, right? That's one of the things that I really have enjoyed about taking my engineering background and applying it in the different areas in which I've been. I always tell people, I'm like, my story is like this windy, twisty road, right? So and can't say I enjoyed all of it, but like it is my story, right?
Yep.
I love
I can relate. I mean, I can definitely relate. I've had mentors like, Liz, what are you doing?
right.
Like, what are you doing? There are not many of you out there, right? Related to the technical field. I'm like, but I need to follow, where's my career? I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely. Yep,
And
me too.
and every experience has helped me just to gain new skills.
And that is, I just can't tell you how much I love that you have said that. And I want some, our listeners out there, especially the young among us, to know that, you've chosen a career path. You're like, yes, I think this is it. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is the only thing you can do. I would tell people straight up, like, take opportunities like Liz did to go into leadership, to do project management, to do these different things, because you just never know what what is your journey. Because half of us, you look back now and you're like, oh, okay, all of that makes sense now, right?
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
It didn't make sense while you were doing it. People are like, what is she doing? Like, they were asking you, what is she doing?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense to me either, but this is what I'm doing right now. Now I look back on it, I'm like, oh, okay, I see how that applies to this, how that apply, this applied to this. This is how I ended up here doing that. Okay,
Connected to
I
that.
get it.
Yeah.
That's the best. If you had to, like, if let's just say when you were in engineering,
Hmm.
um, what was I guess this is a question. So what was one of the catalysts of you wanting to get more into like project management and then leadership?
Um, I've always been like curious, right? And I'll tell you, I work with people that were doing the same job, we're on the same desk for 30 plus years. And I was like, this is not me. I
Right.
I knew there was a bigger world out there. And that was really when I started kind of looking. I'm also like an integrator. I like to connect dots, and I'm
Mm,
like, okay, I'm at this level, this organization. How does everything connect it all the way to the top? So that's really when I started kind of looking at mission or the multiple organizations within the Navy, right? What they were doing and things like that. And I started, through mentors. Mentors really helped me a lot.
yeah.
I call them my board of advisors.
Love that. Yes, I call them my board of directors also.
Yeah.
Yep. The ones
So
that are just like a girl.
yeah. So it was very helpful to get insight, from mentors within the organization, but also external, right? To get
Mhm.
a different point of view. So I think it's a combination of all those things that made me kind of say, okay, let's, kind of get out of the very technical field and
Yeah.
try to
Do you
try
miss it? Do you miss parts of it?
there are days, I'll be honest with you, yes, because sometimes I do miss numbers, right? But and the technical kind of lingo in some cases, right now I'm on a DEI space. It's
Yeah.
very, very different, right? We talk about like soft skills. We're not really soft. They're hard.
Yeah.
They're hard.
No, I agreed. Agreed. I just finished a class on unconscious bias the
Mhm.
other day, and just sort of trying to go deep into it, because it's like, it's one of those things where you think you know what it is, and everybody, I say everybody, there are people talking about it in broad sense, right? They put out a little blurb and unconscious bias, and you're like, or at least I was like, okay, let me I think I know what it is, so let me try and figure it out. So, and it's a very real thing, and it shows up in real time,
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
decision making, in terms of, like, all levels of decision making. So it is something that we um really need to be aware of. Instead of it being unconscious, we really need to be conscious.
Yeah, we I think it's important that periodically we self-assess, right?
Mhm.
And because we change, right?
Yeah.
Change is the only constant. I've
Yeah.
always said that change is the only constant. So we are today's society and just workforce in general, it has evolved and it keeps evolving.
Yeah, so let me ask this question, as it relates to that, and then I have one other question going back to your prior work history. Um, do you okay, this is the way I see it. Uh,
Hmm.
Having kind of doing a little bit of work in this space.
Hmm.
Do you feel like during the pandemic, there was this big, kind of push towards a lot of DEI work, right? Yes, we need it. Oh my God, we got to be educated. And then there's now where we're seeing, well, there is some, I almost want to call it the backlash, right? Where we're now seeing people who are like, yeah, we don't need it. We're just going to get rid of all this stuff because people are people. And, I don't really believe that, these folks are this is not an issue. We don't need to, what was it I heard the other day where it was somebody up in the Northwest in an article I was reading had said something about there's no need for a dedicated effort for DE and I because everyone's the same and people are people, pretty much. That was the gist of it. And it was just sort of like, well, where is this person living? But like it seems to be more of a sentiment that is going around that's the thought. So, but what are you seeing as someone who is working in it every day, who's, you've got your hands in things and you're having the conversations and you're in the rooms dealing with it? What are you seeing?
You know, I would say we cannot convince everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I think on the DEI space, I think it's very important how we use the narrative, what type of narrative we are using, and at least the approach and kind of where the space that I'm in. This is not about quotas, right? This is about how we hire our people, how we treat them, and that's part of the equity and inclusion side of things. And it's really to self-assess the organization and leadership, right? And DEI and leadership, they are all related.
Right.
About DEI training, it's leadership. It's about communication, right? Because give you an example. You can have one African American from Alabama and another one from California. They come from different backgrounds, right? Culture wise. So it's about how do we communicate and understand each other. I'm on a military organization. This is a lot about unit cohesion.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you develop your leaders? So that's really the emphasis. Do I see kind of the resistance on, oh, this is not needed? Absolutely. But I can tell you, I work with leaders that are truly committed to this.
Yeah.
This is just it's not being treated as the flavor of the month. We talk about we need to think about sustainability, and we are trying to develop tools and use data analytics, right, to tell us a story. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And it's more about than race and ethnicity. DEI is way more than that.
Yeah, it is, and I think it sort of gets what is the word I want to use? Synthesized, boiled down to like, did you hire enough Black people, right? Did you hire enough Hispanics? Did you hire enough Asians? And it's like, no, it's more than that. It's how are we making sure that when we're talking about diversity, when we're talking about equity, and definitely when we're talking about inclusion, I feel like inclusion is the thing that sort of gets lost in the mix of the
Yes.
Right, because that's vitally important. Like, who's on our committees? Are we making sure that it is inclusive of our overall body? The people who work here. Is everyone represented in a way that honors them, right? And then being intentional about that, right? And so you're right, it's not about quotas. It's not about like, we only need 2 of these people on this, it's just like.
It's not a checking the box,
No, it can't be. It can't be because no organization is the same. Like you using a checklist in your organization and me using the same checklist is not gonna work, right? It's just not gonna work.
Yeah. I have people ask before, so DEI, so what's your goal? When are you gonna be done, right? And I don't think I can answer that, right? Because it's not a number, it's not a quota. But what I can tell you is that I think we'll make it when we stop talking about the first this, the first that, right?
Right. And that conversation, it's like we should, it's almost, I want to say, maybe I feel a certain kind of way when I'm still hearing first and we're in 2023. Oh, she's the first to do this or he's the first to do that. And you're like, really?
Mhm.
You know, like for real. And it's about integration. The first one, to graduate, the first one to sit on the board, the first one that's ever been hired. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, right? So it's that. This, you have got work, ma'am. You got
We
work.
have There's a long way to go, and I see in some cases there are days, and I'll be completely honest with you, it feels like, it's like building a cathedral, right?
Mm,
I might not see it in my lifetime, but I know it's important for the next generations to come.
yeah. Wow. I don't know if I thought about like what, I guess because I kind of dibble and dabble in it. Like I come in, do a workshop, I'm out, right? As opposed to sort of being in it every day and then making sure that you're showing up as yourself. You have your own level of unconscious bias. You also have, it's almost like you're almost duty bound to sort of be um all of the things, right? So wow, ma'am. I just want to hug you and then salute you all at the same time, like all of it.
I'll take it. Thank
Yes, it's
Take
it's
it.
a job. It's a job, ma'am. Wow. I just really need to sit in that. Wow.
It is.
Well, and then also thank you for,
I think it's really personal. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because we talk about, oh, we get a seat at the table, and yes, that's important. But the way I see things is like, since I'm on the inside, right? I'm air quoting, right? Since I'm in the room, in the exclusive room, I want to keep that door open for more that look
yeah,
like that look like us come in.
yeah, yeah.
And if I can use my position to do that, then that's what I'm gonna do.
I love that. I love that. So my other question I wanted to go back to, but to bring it forward, is why the Navy again?
I'll tell you. Okay, we have to go back to,
Okay, okay.
okay. So when I started when I started college to go for a chemical engineering degree, my desire was to work in the pharmaceutical industry. In Puerto Rico, it was kind of the place to go. And I was kind of halfway my degree, and that's when the economy started getting really bad on the island.
Mm,
A lot of companies were leaving, they're just closing, leaving the island. And I was like, what do I do? Do I start something new or do I finish? So at that time, actually, I was towards the end of my degree, I was doing an internship with FDA. And one of my college professors, she was doing kind of a exchange program with the Navy. And she reached out to some of us and she said, hey, they're looking for people that are graduating that year. uh, send the resume, and that's really how I got the interview and got the job offer. And I was like, if this is not it, I mean, I just need to take a risk.
wow. That's amazing though. I
Yeah.
mean first off that you took the risk, right? That's a whole nother conversation because there's so many people who wouldn't have or who didn't. And then once you got in, you took another risk by saying, you know what? I'm not gonna be this guy, right? The one who's been
Mhm.
sitting there for 30 years. Like I can't, I'm not gonna do that, right? And then finding ways to upskill, whether that was through experience or on the job teaching or a certificate or, another degree or so, and then taking the risk to pivot even within the Navy. So that's like, you are
Some,
awesome.
some
You
people
know
have
that, right?
unicorn. Oh, thank you. Some people have called me I'm a unicorn. So I'm like, sure, that's okay.
I've been called a unicorn too, so we'll take it.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Take it. We'll take it. I mean, but it's no small feat that you made it where you made it. And you know what I mean? Because so I mean my uncle is was a member of the Navy. He's retired. And
Mhm.
so like his stories were amazing too. And in both the good way and the bad way. Um, and so I feel like the Navy, it, and this is from my perspective, has been and I don't know this to be true, so this is an assumption, so I'll just put that out there. But it sometimes feels like the Navy has been really slow to change, in my, again, my opinion,
Mhm. Mhm.
in some ways, and it may just be on the service side. I know nothing about it on any other side, so
Mhm. Mhm.
that's just sort of what I have observed and through conversations with my uncle. So I'm really happy that you are there and sitting in the seat that you are sitting in.
Yeah, I mean, it's culture, right? Culture, changing culture is it's very it takes time, and especially in a military organization, they're proud of their culture, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, culture and history, right?
absolutely, absolutely. It's like then it's tell me how this is gonna make me more lethal and win wars, right?
Well,
And
then that's a whole word right there. Tell me how it's going to make me more lethal. Wow. Wow.
yeah, yeah. So, but this is all about people.
Hmm.
If you don't have your people, and if your people not in the right space, then you're gonna lose. Your
Right.
your unique cohesion goes back to that.
Ultimately, I think that's right. I mean, it's the people who, the guns don't shoot themselves, the ships don't sail without a person leading it. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like you have to take care of your people. I think
Absolutely,
that's one of those, the first order of business is you have to take care of your people.
absolutely.
So, wow. Okay, so question for you is, so do you have anything big coming up? Where can people find you? Do you have, what's happening with Liz?
Let's see what's happening besides working. I'm very involved with other organizations like mentorship. I'm passionate about that. I'm member of multiple organizations like United Latinas, Step Up. It's another one, and other kind of governmental
Can you
organizations.
tell people what Step Up is?
Yeah, Step Up is an organization that is strictly to like young women, young girls, and it's about mentorship and how can help them and give them the tools to accomplish what they want and make them successful, right? Whatever that means to them. So
Mhm.
I've been honored to be part. Probably it's been over a year now that I found them, and it's when we talk about your passion and your purpose, that's it for me. And
Oh,
to me, it's an intersection of STEM,
mhm.
CTI, and mentorship. With the youth and the next generation. I wanna. I this is what I want to do. This is what's kept me here still. I did not have that right throughout my career, but
Right.
if I can be that for the next generation that's coming right after me, then that's my purpose on this earth. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, that right there is why I do what I do every day, wake up to make sure that I can, hopefully I can inspire at least one other person who looks like me, that they can do it too, that they can live the life they want to live, on purpose,
Yeah.
right? So love that. And I love that for you. And I love that for them. So how many girls, how many young women are you mentoring at the moment?
Ooh, I will say probably 7 to 10 different ages from high school through just, entry level.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, all of those have their own particular brand of like, oh, like an OMG. But I know for me, there were two moments that I felt like I really needed someone to talk to. And
Mhm.
that was senior year in college, where I'm like that last that last year, I say, second semester or so, you're doing, or at least we had a senior project. And let me tell you, my
Mhm.
senior project, ooh, buddy, I was like, I am not going to graduate.
Wow.
I was like, I am not going to graduate. I was on this team, and of course, I was the only. It was on a team of there were four men and then me, and they wanted to give me the scraps part of the project.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
They wanted to give me the scrap part of the project. And so I'm trying to talk to people, and there were no women. There were no women instructors or professors in my department at all. So it were all men. And so I'm going to have these conversations with men, and they'd be like, okay, what's the problem? Like, you got a part of the project. And it's like, but I want the meaty parts, right? I want to be able to, how am I going to put this engine together? I don't want to be talking about, how to stick these two sticks together and what?
Right.
I don't want to just be the person who writes the report. I'm like, no, this is not it. So I literally I had to fight for my part in that project. And I just remember being like, just thinking to myself, should it be this hard?
Yeah.
Just should it be this hard? And I would have loved to have had someone to, kind of push me to do it sooner, right? Because it took me a long time to really, kind of get myself to have the conversation.
Yeah. You need a tribe. That you need a tribe.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the other time was when early career, when I was in like a large company. A large company. They had 6 or 7 floors in this building that was like, it was like a 35 floor building, and they had 6 or 7 floors of it. And just trying to navigate that space was hard because, again, I wasn't the only Black, I was the only female. I was the only female engineer. There were other females that were working, but that was the only female engineer. And and then they would exclude me from meetings. Like, all the engineers would be gone, and I'd be like, hey, where is everybody? They're like, oh, they're in the engineering meeting. What? It's like, again, not having no idea how to navigate this.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
So it would have been really nice to have someone to talk to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, experiences like that, I can relate to it as well. Not everything has been, woo,
Mm-hmm.
a smooth ride. It hasn't. I'll be lying to you if I said it was. But I think situations like that really force you to find your voice.
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Absolutely.
so now when you're like, and for you, so now when you're in a space doing the work that you're doing, you have, and for me also, like, I had I report to the CEO of the company that I'm working for. And we're having a conversation today, and she was just like, Natasha, I need you to speak up more. And I was like, okay. Haven't been there long. And I said, so, I was like, so I do a lot of listening and observing before I speak, because they're just things that I don't know.
Right.
And she was just like, no, you bring with you a wealth of experience, and you have a powerful voice that people will listen to. And she says, I'm telling you now that we need your voice.
That's amazing.
And I was sort of like, oh, but she's right though, right? And it's like, I need that message to go out to our listeners, from both of us, actually. So, you have a voice. We want you to use it, and we need to hear it. And so do that,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So one last question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Two. So if people wanted to get in contact with you, where could they reach you?
On LinkedIn under my name, Liz Chaluisant. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram.
So everywhere. So if y'all are paying attention,
Yeah.
if y'all is paying attention, y'all can look at her name, and you can find her on all of the social media platforms. But don't stalk her like I did, though. Don't do that. Just don't do it.
It's so good.
um, and of course, all of her social media handles will be definitely her LinkedIn and no, her LinkedIn and probably her IG will be on the show notes. So y'all, of course, you have to read the show notes. You just have to read the show notes. Okay, so then last question is, if you could travel back through time and talk to your younger self, what advice would you give her and why?
Ah, wow. Mm. I will say you are more than what you think. You are more than what you think. And why I say that is, you know, I am going back to what I started my story, right? About you are the only one, you're not going to be successful, things like that. I've come to a realization that I put my identity into my job, my career,
Mm,
and I've realized with time, right? And I'm more than that. I'm more than my job title. I'm more than whatever label society put on me. I'm more than a woman. I'm more than a mom, than a wife, than being a wife, a friend. So I think that's what I would say. You're more than what you think you are. You're more.
that just gave me chills in a good way. Ooh, yes, that was awesome and amazing. And a great way to end the show. I really want to thank you for agreeing to be a guest. I'm oftentimes still amazed that anybody says yes. So I really do want to thank you for your time today, just to talk about you and get your story out into the world. And I know that it is absolutely going to bless people.
Amen. Amen. That's the goal. Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Uh, awesome. Okay, you guys. So that is the conclusion of this episode of Stimming and Stilettos. And as always, you guys, keep yourselves safe.